How good did this episode feel before we got all sucked back into the Chris BS at the end? You know, having an episode where we actually got to see all the couples was very refreshing. We're still getting beaten down by all of Chris's drama and the Chris show, but I very much appreciated that they had a little bit at the start, a little bit at the end, and the rest of the episode was all dedicated to our other our four couples that actually have a shot. With that said though, we're jumping into the Chris show. How great was it to see that Chris acts like an a-hole even to his friends? Him acting like the pouty baby he is, even to his friends. He's talking to his friends, and his friends are trying to give him advice, and they're not agreeing with what Chris wants to hear. So Chris just turns into a pouty baby, and I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, if that's a 6-year-old. That's a grumpy 6-year-old who is hungry and you don't have a snack to give them. That's who he is. That's not an adult. That's not a grown-up. That's not someone who is capable of raising a child. That's not someone capable of being in a healthy relationship. That is a pouty baby. And, it's embarrassing to even just see him on the TV screen. Paige is so much better than him. Paige is out of his league in looks, in personality, in life. He's just a trash person. I'm over it. And, he got his tonight and it felt good. I don't understand this whole him trying to get to this situation where his ex and Paige sit down in a room. Like, what did he think was going to accomplish there? I originally was going into it thinking, oh, great, this is just Mercedes trying to get her 15 minutes of fame. And I really enjoyed just watching them sit there. Paige handle everything amazingly. And Mercedes getting her eyes opened to a little bit of who Chris is. And, Chris is just offended by someone having an opinion. It's gross. It's gross to watch. Like, what a horrible person to have in your life. And I hope all of his friends, all of his family see what kind of man he really is through this experience and maybe pull back on their relationships with him, because especially if you're a friend, you can choose not to have that person in your life. It might be difficult to make that decision, but you can make that decision and walk away. When we finally heard Paige say she was at peace with the situation and done with Chris, oh, that felt good. Oh, that felt good. Like, I know Chris is still going to try to reel her back in after Mercedes dumps his ass. But it felt good just for that moment to just know Paige was leaving. Paige was over it. She wasn't hanging on for those sweet nothings that Chris whispers in her ears. She was done with it. Chris is just someone who thinks that they're the only person in the world who can be right, the only person in the world who can have an opinion. And it felt good watching him sit there with his mouth shut with two women in that room who put him in his place. It felt good. And all the best to Mercedes and not so much for Chris. All right, let's move on. Hayley and Jacob. Anyone else really wish that it was Hayley's friend who was on the show? She just seems so much more prepared, better suited, and ready for everything that this experience is thrown at Hayley. Meanwhile, Hayley is not. In the whole situation from the end of the honeymoon, Hayley and Jacob both made huge errors, and their relationship suffered as a result. But we're still seeing Hayley just kind of fall back into all those little negative things, and like, even when she's sitting there talking to her friend, Hayley's not looking for advice. Hayley was looking for validation. Hayley was looking for somebody to tell her that she was right, and when she didn't receive that, you could just kind of see, like you can just watch it on Hayley's face, like she just flicks off. Like you can see it all in her expression, and it happens in almost every conversation where something doesn't go her way. Her expression just totally turns off, and it's something that we've just seen all season long. I still am not getting the vibe that Hayley really wants to make things work. I know that she says she's trying. She's giving the appearance that she's trying, but I'm still not buying it from her yet. That doesn't mean she can't get there, and I hope she does. I hope she's actually willing to reset things with Jacob, because, if she gives him a chance, I think that they could work. Like, yes, he is a weird person, but he seems like he has a good heart. He just because he's little different doesn't mean he doesn't deserve love, and doesn't mean that Hayley and Jacob can't find that love. Yeah, but overall, I'm not really buying into them right now. I just don't find what they're doing to each other, the emotions, what they're saying. I just don't find it genuine at the moment. I think there's still some lingering wounds from their fight in Vegas, and I don't know what's going to be needed for them to repair that. All right, Clara and Ryan. So Clara is starting to get very frustrated. She just apparently wants to be boning, and Ryan just wants to take things slow. Ryan, it comes off as a very quiet, I'd say quiet, calculated person, maybe a little bit socially awkward. And, Clara seems to think that that's a big negative. And me personally, I don't, because I know in group public situations, I'm the person who just wants to sit back. Like, I have to be very comfortable with people before I start being, more extroverted and more the life of the party. And I think we're seeing some similar things with Ryan, and getting some evidence from hearing what his friends have to say about him, really, that he's not going to be the life of the party until he's totally comfortable with everything. And I think that's valid. On the other end of things, they should probably be having sex. Like a little bit something, especially if it's something very important to Clara. Like, no, you don't have to jump in and be saying I love you on day one. But if that's something very important to her, and you're at least open to it at some point, just accelerate that process a little bit. I think it will benefit them both greatly. But just based off the little interview clips we're getting from Clara, I'm not too positive on this couple. Like, seeing her expressions and how she's talking about all these situations, she looks like a person who is angry, and that's not giving me good vibes for their success long term. Maybe if it doesn't work out there, maybe we can get Ryan and Paige together to see if they could be the right couple, because that just might be what would fix, not just, or at least get one good couple out of those two, Chris and Paige, and Clara and Ryan, that is. All right, Brianna and Vincent. I thought overall this was a good episode for them, except for one big thing from Brianna, and that was her total dismissal of Vincent's feelings. When they're having that conversation near the start of the episode, and Vincent's basically saying like, hey, this is how I felt in that situation, and everything coming out of Brianna's mouth is, well, you may have felt that. And really just everything. She had like a string of like 5 different things. I don't remember them all, but they were all dismissive of him and how he felt in that situation. So that behavior from Brianna is very concerning for me, because if that's something that Vincent is very sensitive about, and she's not willing to understand or change or adapt for him and his feelings, that is going to be something that is eventually going to be the downfall of their relationship. Out of all of the couples, the friends and family time, I really felt like I got the least out of Brianna and Vincent. You know, they sat there and played that game. I didn't get anything from that. You know, we didn't get to see the conversation with the friends, the conversation with the family that were a lot of the moments in tonight's episode that helped expose what was going on with the couples, and I really wish we would have got a little more out of that tonight. All right, our final couple, Eric and Virginia. Overall, I'd say good episode for them. They were kind of split up for a couple days as they both had to go to weddings and ended up not spending some time together. But then we met back up for the friends meetup, and I thought it went quite well. I was a little nervous about that, and really just getting to see Eric actually put a face to the names from all of Virginia's stories and actually have a conversation with some of Virginia's friends really seemed to change his attitude. I really got a kick out of hearing Virginia's friends telling Eric that like the one thing to avoid with her is being too controlling, when you know that's been one of his primary attributes in the relationship so far, having Eric's rules and telling her what she can and can't do. And from my point of view, all that stuff from Eric is just poor communication on his part. I think all of it is just things that he is totally valid for him to be worried about, but he needs to phrase them in a way that's not a demand. You know, even just instead of saying you can't sleep on someone's couch, saying, you know, I don't really like the thought of you not coming home at the end of the night. And that just the difference in those two things is very different. You know, one is concern and the other is a demand. And, you know, when people just make demands of you, your natural reaction is to close off and come back from a defensive position. Where when someone reaches out with a caring query to you, you're going to react with more positivity and be more receptive to that. So someone needs to sit down with Eric, and you know, one of his friends at the start of the episode did try to do that, did try to say some of those things to Eric, but he didn't seem like he was quite ready to hear them yet. So hopefully, you know, they can have a conversation with one of the experts at some point, and Eric can start making steps towards being better in that department, because that is something that must be fixed for that couple to work. All right, that's going to be it for me tonight. Chris. And of course, we'll see you again next week when some reason, somehow, Chris is still going to appear on our TV screens. And hopefully we get a really good Paige rejection of him, because I would absolutely love to watch that. All right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for watching. And until next week, we'll see you later.